This video is to go over lesson 5.3 on review packet 5a. First problem is determine whether each rule defines a function. So I want you to fully understand what the function means. So function means, for example, input is 1 and output is 3. That's good. If there is another input, for example 2, can make 3, that's good. But one input cannot make more than one or more. One input has to have exactly one output. Okay, so if one produces 3 and one produces 5, this is not a function. Okay, so if you remember the number game, and if it's a fair game, that's a function. That's another way of looking at it. So the first problem is, let's take the opposite of the input and then add 2. So these 5 things does not mean that these are function. So there might not be a function. So if it's not a function, there is nothing you can do. So make sure you explain why it's not a function. Okay. If it's a fair game, it is good. If it's not a fair game, it's not a function. If it's a function, make a table output value using integer inputs from 0 to 4. So first, for example, part A, here's the input and output, 1, 2, 3, 4, and take the opposite of the input, which is the opposite of 4 is negative 4, and then add 2, so it's negative 2. For 3, take opposite of it, which is negative 3, then add 2, so it's negative 1. So that's how you look at it. I want you to be really careful about C. Plug some number in and you might see something. Okay? Model each situation as a function in common. Modeling situations as function is common. Decide whether each description represents a function. Explain. So the input is a day of the year. The output is average temperature in Barcelona on that day. So if it's a function, there is a clear rule and a correlation between those two factors. So you ask yourself, is there any correlation between a day of the year and the temperature of the Barcelona on that day? Then if there is, then it's a function. If there is not, it's not a function. So in this case, it is not a function because the day of the year doesn't really decide what the temperature is. You can't really tell January 1st will be this temperature. So A is not a function. So that's how you solve this problem. Next problem, for each description, reverse the description for inputs and outputs. So for example, part A is, can you tell the day of the year based on the temperature of the Barcelona? Obviously not, so it's not a function. Okay. So that's lesson 5.4.